Hello, it's Tim here. It's been a little while since I made a video, and I'm going to be doing some modifications to my electric brewery, so I decided it's a good time to make another video and show you what I'm doing. Since my last one, I purchased this 15-gallon kettle here, a 10-gallon cooler, and both of these are becoming mash tuns. I'm going to use this one out with my gas brewing equipment, and this one I'm going to use inside with my electric brewing equipment. Both of them are going to replace my 55-quart cooler that I've been using for quite a while now, and it has worked pretty good. You might recall I have a instead of a screen or false bottom, had this apparatus that I made out of copper tubing. Here's my Sparge arm hung from the top of the cooler lid, and it actually worked pretty good. I'll probably still hang on to it if I don't decide to sell it, but it's time to retire it. So, first thing I'm going to work on is the stainless steel kettle. So I'm going to set this mash tun aside. I actually picked this up at Lowe's last weekend, and it was on clearance for 35 bucks, I think, and it lists for 50 bucks. It's the basic igloo cooler. I should be able to modify it into a mash tun for maybe 20-25 bucks. A lot cheaper than buying a pre-made one. What I'm going to do with the kettle, though, is drill a hole for a valve. I'm going to drill another hole up high and put a Sparge arm in it. And then I'll drill another hole for a temperature sensor to give me an idea what the mash itself is heated up to. This is a, I don't know if you can see it, Ballington brand. I got it off of eBay. Just searched for 60-quart stainless steel cooler. I believe that the Ballingtons are made by Concord, made in China, shipped out of California. I think I paid $87 for it, and inside it came with this little steamer rack. I had thoughts of using this as a false bottom. It may work, I'm not sure. It's got some pretty big holes on it. My other 15-gallon Kettle, which is identical to it, also came with one of these. I was thinking of maybe putting one on top of the other, twisting it a little bit to make the holes a little smaller. And the fact that they'd be screwed together, there'd be an air gap in between. I could even offset the holes some, and that might work good. I'm not totally sure that's what I want to do. I think what I'll probably do is fashion some kind of a false bottom out of a, I don't know, maybe a pizza pan. In fact, I just recently purchased a pizza pan. There it is. I purchased this pizza pan. If you look at it, it's already pre-drilled with some little holes. I added the hole in the center here. This fits just perfect in the igloo cooler, and so I can set this upside down, put a tube in and through it, and that should work pretty well as a false bottom. Anyway, that'll be the next video. The Sparge arm I'm going to make for this, I'm going to go crazy. I want to make one that spins like a sprinkler. So I've got a lot of copper fittings, and I've got an idea. I'm going to put it together and hope it comes out. But I'm going to ask you to follow along with me, and we'll see what happens. Okay, as I mentioned, one of the things that I'm going to do is make a sprinkler head Sparge system. Now over here I've got a bunch of the parts I'm going to use. I'll just point them out. Okay, first thing, notice got some 3/8 inch copper tubing. This is soft wall tubing, easy to bend. You can see I cut that, but what I'm going to do is take this tubing, and I've got a T-fitting here, and with this T-fitting I'm going to make a sprinkler head, and I'll basically have an end coming out of here, an end out of there, and then it'll spin around. Okay, now I just got started. What I created was a piece that the fitting is going to spin on, which is right here. Now what I did is I took a piece of a 1/2 inch copper pipe, put 2 caps on the ends of it, drilled holes in the cap ends, and what will happen is I'm going to take this length of tubing here, put it through the hole here, and one end I'm going to have this thing that spins around at the T, and the other end I'm going to put a flare on it using my flaring kit. I'm going to step the camera back a little bit over to the side here so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, got my flaring kit here. Pull it out. Now what a flaring kit consists of is, this is the flaring tool that holds the pipe, and this is the thing that actually flares the end. Now before I get this started, I want to decide which end of this tube is straighter. I believe it's this one. It's going to spin the best. One end spins better than the other because with this soft wall tube it's kind of hard to straighten it out well. So I want to make sure that the end I flare spins real well. And I think this is the end I want. Okay, so put the tube into my flaring tool here, loosen up both ends of it. And there are markings on this tool that tell me what to do. This is 3/8 inch tubing, so I'm going to put it right here. And I think I'll make it down just a little more. I want a decent flare on it. There you go. Got about 1/8 of an inch, give or take, sticking up on it. Cinch it down. There it is, sticking out of there. I put this little tool here, which if you look at it, it's got a cone top on it. Slide that on top of here. First, loosen it up. Didn't want to slide it real easy. So slide it from this end. Yeah, as usual, things didn't always go as easy as you'd hope. There we go. I hope you're seeing this. Okay, tube is on there, centered in the thing. All I gotta do is twist this thing around a few times, and it forces the edge of the pipe tubing out. And that should be it. If you look, tubing's got a nice cone on it. Put it right on top of my thing there and spin away. Now what I'm going to do next is solder the T in the bottom, and that's the part that's going to spin around. Now this whole assembly will end up inside another piece of tubing that's 3/4 inches wide. This cap will be on, and we'll be able to slide up and down that tubing in the tubing that's on this thing, and it'll slide up and down depending on how long I make it. I can't make it any longer than this, of course, and it can slide all the way down to the bottom, so I can adjust the height of it in my mash tun. But then I'll have tubing down here. I'm going to put O-rings around this to seal it on the inside, and should work pretty well. Anyway, I'll come back when I get a little further along. Alright, I'm a little further along. Been doing some pipe cutting and a little bit of soldering. Show you where I'm at right now. If you look, you can see I've got the T built, the sprinkler part, if you will. Notice I've got T all put together. Got a soldered fitting right there. Now, if you look up here, this is what I did with the other piece. I drilled a hole down the center of 2 caps on some 1/2 inch copper, big enough for the 3/8 inch pipe to go through. This is actually 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch outside diameter, I believe. As I showed before, I flared the end so that it's not going to come off. I also wrapped a piece of wire around the bottom here so that it stays up toward the top. Now, this works out pretty good. It gives me a little bit of slack for when I put it inside the other pipe. You also see I've got 3 O-rings here. Those O-rings are, it looks like number 92, 3/8 inch outside diameter, 1/2 inch inside diameter, and 1/8 of an inch thick. And what's going to happen, I have this other piece here, 3/4 inch pipe, and then on the end I put a fitting that goes from 3/4 inch to a standard 1/2 inch male threaded pipe that will go into any standard 1/2 inch connector. And what I'm going to do is put that pipe outside this, and it'll go down the O-rings. Now this takes a little bit of effort. What I'll do is I'll put a little bit of faucet grease on here so it'll slide, and you really got to force these O-rings in. I'll take a screwdriver and push them in and work my way around. Alright, as I said, put a little bit of faucet grease around these here and a little bit on the pipe itself. I'm going to slide it in, and then what I'll do is I'll go an O-ring at a time. Just push that down, work my way around. So you want a real snug fit. Be careful so you're not pushing too hard to tear the O-ring, and if you slip, just tear your finger off. One in. Now what this will do is this will seal it, so when the water comes through, nothing will come out around here. Like I said, this is not super easy to do. Well, it works. And there you go, just about there. about there. Alright, so those O-rings are stuffed in there. Push that in. Now what's kind of nice is, depending on the height I want to hang this from within my kettle, I'll be able to slide this up and down. So there's a little longer. Now the O-rings are sitting against the cap on the other end there. And if I push this up all the way in as far as it'll go, since I put that copper wire with about 1/8 of an inch gap, this hangs down and spins just fine. So there it is, Sparge arm. Next part of the project I'm going to do is make some a fitting, so this will attach to the side of my kettle. I got some copper pieces here. I'll kind of mock it up as to what it's going to look like. Okay. So, got this here, right there, with the fitting that will screw into. Then there'll be a long piece of pipe going across here to the edge, and then another fitting on the other end. And when I want to put it in and remove it or install the Sparge arm, I'll take this piece that I'm making here, screw it in like that, and then screw this to the bottom so it's easily disassembled for cleaning and whatnot. I do think I may do a little bit different of a design on this. I may make another one and use compression fitting down here at the bottom, go in both directions, so that I can take it apart and clean out on in the inside of the sprinkler arms in case any grain gets stuck. At this point I'm not real sure if grain gets stuck how I'm going to get it out of there. I did just crimp these ends here, so what I might do is cut off the ends and put a cap on the end of some sort, either a copper cap and put some sort of a cotter pin in it to hold it in place, or maybe a plastic cap like you would put on the end of a piece of pipe or a cane or something like that. Just something that, since there's not a whole lot of pressure on this, it's something that would stay in place with the heat, but that I can take off to clean out the pipe. Anyway, I'm going to see how it works. The theory is pretty decent. I have tested this and it does work. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to get it to spin. I mean, I just barely touch it and it spins. So I'll come back and show you the finished product. Okay, got my Sparge arm all put together. Made a few modifications from my earlier plans. If you look, I made this tubing just a little bit shorter. I found that it wasn't sitting low enough in the, or high enough in the kettle. I've got a male connector there and some 3/4 inch copper pipe here. There's a 1/2 inch copper pipe inside it. And then the Sparge arm, as I showed you earlier, is on the inside. And if you look, there's a 1/2 inch cap on the bottom there. There's about a 1.5 inch length of 1/2 inch copper pipe on that cap, and another cap on the other end, which sits up here. And then in the center of it, I got a couple O-rings that seal it to the inside of this 3/4 inch pipe. Comes up to a threaded fitting here and a threaded fitting there, so I can take it off and twist the pipe on easily. I bent the tube up a little so it'd sit a little higher up in the pot. Tighten it on. Got your basic bulkhead fitting here. 1/2 inch nut with an O-ring on it, and then a coupler fitting there, and 3/4 inch washer coming out to my quick connects. Down here to my chugger pump. I'm going to do a little bit of a test here. I'll open up the valve about 1/4 of the way. Yeah, I think about halfway. About halfway. And there it goes. I'm going to open it up all the way now. And open it all the way, it really moves. I'm not sure I can pull sparge water out that fast. Or at least recirculation water out that fast. And I don't think I'd want to sparge that fast. So I think putting it about halfway open, maybe a fourth of the way open, would work really well. I thought I would do a really quick segment on how everything's put together and how it all comes apart. I showed it to you a little bit earlier, but I want to just expand on that a little bit. Okay, the sparge arm is connected. To disconnect it, just unscrew this thing, comes down, and it's disconnected. Can't really see in it, but it only goes down to about here. And there we go. Set that aside. The arm that comes off the side just sits on the threads there, and there, that's off. The false bottom, I've got a hose clamp there, holds that in place. And if you look, basically what I've got is a 90-degree elbow that goes through there, and this is just a reducing fitting. There's actually some probably 3/8 inch threads on the inside of that, but that just goes inside the half-inch elbow. And as I showed before, this is just a half-inch threaded copper pipe fitting. Typically you would solder it onto a pipe. I just left it loose, and you'll notice on the sides here I cut a couple slots so I could put a hose clamp on there, and that would snug it up. Then this last little piece right here, similar to the sparge arm, just unscrews, and there you got it, ready for cleaning. Over here is again the temperature sensor thermometer, and if you can look on the side here, the threads there, a silicone washer and a stainless steel washer, pushing that against it, and then on the inside there's a half-inch lock nut and another silicone washer holding that in place. Standard bulkhead down at the bottom for the valve. There's a female fitting, half-inch lock nut, silicone washer next to the kettle wall, and similar thing on the outside. I don't believe there's a washer on the outside, just the stainless steel washer, silicone washer that is. Where the sparge arm goes in, similar bulkhead. It's got the female fitting on the outside, Kent plastic quick connect for my hoses, and again lock nut, silicone washer, threads here that I connect the sparge arm up. Anyway, quick view of that. I'm going to show you the Igloo cooler one real fast. Similar in nature to the other one, except I did do it a little bit different. I've got a 3/8 inch elbow there and another reducing fitting, but I used some just 3/8 copper pipe, the same stuff I made my sparge arm out of, and some compression fittings to hold it in place there. So here I just release the compression fitting, and that comes off on both sides. I almost did the same thing on the other stainless steel mash tun, but I know I tried doing this different. This was the second one I made. Just trying different methods to see which works best. Who knows, I may change it over time. But there it is. Cheers. Alright, after the last scene, it's been a few weeks, and I have fully finished setting up the steel kettle mash tun. You can see, I showed you the valve before. I have put a thermometer in the front. I can remove that and put an electronic sensor on it if I want. I've also, opening up the inside, put a false bottom in it. And as I showed you in the previous section, I did take the pizza pan, put a fitting through the middle of it, another copper pipe going to the inside of the bulkhead for the valve down there. And I actually brewed with it this past weekend, and it worked really well. Sparge arm went good. The false bottom did a good job of keeping the grain out, and didn't really get any grain in the arm. It spun pretty well. Occasionally you got a few minor particles of grain in the holes, but I was able to get them out pretty easily. But that's the mash tun on the silver stainless steel kettle. Now, one other thing I had mentioned, that I had gotten the Igloo cooler at Lowe's, which is kind of obvious based on the label. Did the same thing with it. Put a valve on the front. I'll open up the lid here. And in the middle, see, I took that other pizza pan, I got two of them, and put one inside it. And as I mentioned, it fit perfectly. Now, I did pick up these pizza pans at Big Lots, and worked pretty good. Now, I haven't had a chance to use this mash tun yet. Haven't done any outdoor brewing with gas, but I'm sure I'll use it at some point. But pretty inexpensive to put it together. So there it is, setting up a couple mash tuns and Sparge arm. I'll figure out another Sparge arm for the cooler, but at this point I'm going to call this ready to go. I'll probably create a T. Look on the floor back there. I've got some PVC pipe, and up in the end I got a T. I'll probably hang something from the center of that T and just build a cross brace that'll sit on top of the mash tun here for sparging. Anyway, cheers. So here's the Finished Brewery as it stands right now. Got a stove top there I can plug into my 240. Mash tun on the left, boil kettle on the right, hot liquor tank on top, the hop screen up there, and then the rims in the background. Real happy with how everything works. There's my chugger pump, and over here I got a little 12 volt or 24 volt pump. Works just okay. Chugger pump by far is the pump I go to. Down the bottom is my counterflow wort chiller. Hoses are connected up. And when I need it, I've got a immersion chiller. But anyway, that's the brewery.